What's up everybody and welcome to another in-depth special of The Lunar Observer, the unscheduled podcast about fans discussing Insomniac Games, the creators of Spyro the Dragon, Ratchet & Clank, and Resistance. I am KBABZ and I am not joined by Division 10. Originally I was, and we recorded a very lovely version of this in depth, but then I botched it because my audio was crap and now it's too late and she's really busy, missed the window, so I'm trying it again by myself. Now, if you didn't know, the Ratchet & Clank game recently got a brand new story trailer, and that's what this in-depth is all about. I'm going to be dissecting the story trailer for all the details that hopefully you will enjoy. So, the first image that we have here is Ratchet looking onto a flyer for the Galactic Rangers. Very nice stuff, except Captain Quark's Q is backwards. Oops. I don't know, maybe he photocopied this and had it mirrored to the other side, or maybe it was flipped so that we could see Cora a bit better, because she would have been hidden by the shadow. Or maybe this is a flipped image and whatnot? I don't know. Now this shot is literally a couple of frames later as Ratchet looks up from the poster. Look at him. He's got such a hopeful look in his eyes. He's going to be a ranger. His life is not going to be ruined by being turned into a banana. Yeah. Now, to the right of the image, you can see the disassembled version of the ship that Ratchet has various shenanigans in. So this is very most likely going to be Grimroth's garage, and yeah, so Ratchet is sort of heading out to the Ranger Triads, I'd imagine. That's why he's grabbed the poster. This image is of Ratchet standing just outside the garage, and while there's nothing directly interesting here, what Ratchet is doing is pretty cool. He's actually doing what's called a idle animation, and what that is when you leave your character standing around for a certain period of time, and then he does a thing, because you're not controlling him, he's just standing around. Probably the most iconic version of this is when Sonic stares at the viewer and taps his foot, looking at his wrist like he's got a watch, like, hello, come on. So yeah. Now this particular idle animation I like because it is directly referencing one from A Crack in Time where Ratchet smacks the bottom of his boot with his wrench. The other two were him sort of tightening his gloves, and the other was him chucking the wrench behind his back and up into the air and then catching it with his other hand. That was my favorite one because the animation looked really good. Here is a wide shot of Veldin. I'm not entirely sure where this is. This is probably somewhere near the garage because it's daytime. And on the left hand side you can see a big circular metal plate which looks a lot like a landing pad. Now from the live streams from places like GameSpot that we saw during the Mega March Madness Big Blow Up Bonanza, we know that Veldin can be returned to because it is an option in the ship's planet menu. So if Ratchet were to return to this specific location, then I would imagine he'd be using that landing pad. Just above it, you can also see some big advertising boards in the distance that are very reminiscent of the ones that we saw on Kerwan. And I think that is most likely the Galactic Ranger tryout area, which we have seen in previous screenshots. Now, if you look to the bridge in the middle of the area and sort of the little clifflets to the right, and then I transition to the next image, you'll see that the general landscape appears to be very, very similar to Ratchet & Clank 1, and a little bit of IP Arsenal, because that did its fair share of referencing as well. So yeah, these opening sections are the original level, except once you get over the gap where in the original game you were taught about comet striking and use it to thwack some toads on the head from a distance, it seems to just sort of dissolve away into something else. You can't really see any evidence of the rest of the area, you know, of the original Veldin. You can't see the water tower, for example, the one that when you return you need to drain with the Hydra displacer. And that makes sense because Clank no longer actually crashes in this area. He actually crashes to the far, far, far right of this image, and that is what we saw at the nighttime PSX demo footage. Also, if you look in the background, you can actually see the top of the Galactic Ranger tryout stage. This is the stage that we have seen before, where Captain Quark sort of comes out of a orb, and he presumably chats up the crowd, and he does that thing where he goes, "We want you." That's this location that I'm referring to here. And that appears to be a common landmark, as you'll see in these upcoming shots. You'll see it a lot. Such as in this one, you can see it on the right hand side off into the distance. This appears to be the entrance to the Galactic Ranger tryout course, because this archway is actually very similar to what we saw in one of the OPSM screenshots that they tweeted out. So you can see the banner hanging off the top of the archway there. If you look at the base of the archway on the right hand side, you will be able to pick out one of the Captain Quark spring bots. The guys who's like, "Welcome to the Captain Quark fitness course," and that sort of thing. Here's a picture of Ratchet holding the buzz blades. We've seen it in gameplay before, but this is the first time we've gotten a really good look at it. You can see a lot of extra detailing that just wasn't present in the original PS3 model. That would have been left up to bump mapping on that underpowered, archaic system. Now this picture is a wide shot of the location that Ratchet is in. You can tell because of the orange cylinders that ring the edge of the arena. You can see the training ground stage tryout thing off to the right hand side in the top right corner. Now this image doesn't seem to reveal anything particularly interesting, so you might be wondering why I took it. Well, this is the first time we've really gotten a good look at the back of a Tharpod. In All for One, the game that they appeared in, the camera was always very, very far away, so even if they did turn around, we never actually got a good look at them. But now we do. Hooray! Here is Ratchet attacking some Gadgetron flame bots with his wrench. In the trailer, it is fairly obvious that a sort of invulnerability debug mode has been turned on, which is a cheat option as we know, because Ratchet sort of does his entire move through these flames and nothing happens to him. He is not burned alive. He doesn't even say ow. So yeah, that is most likely something that they've done. If you look at the eyes of the testing bots, you can actually see that they have the, the BMW logo, how it's sort of a circle divided up into quarters of blue and white. Crash test dummies have the same thing, except it's black and yellow, and you can actually see them on the eyelids of these test dummies here. They also have on their chest the new Gadgetron G logo with the new gear teeth. So these are probably provided by Gadgetron to help out with the tryout stage. Now this is a shot that is actually from one of my previous in-depth videos. This is Ratchet reacting to the Blargian Snagglebeast menacingly approaching him. This is a shot that was actually seen in the new story trailer, but now it looks like this. The first thing that I noticed was that the lighting on Ratchet's screen left eye is much better. It's not shrouded in darkness like it was before. The specific light behavior off of Ratchet's armor is also different. He is lit up a bit more, and the sort of shiny glitziness of the armor has been reduced a fair bit. So yeah, if you look between his eyebrows and sort of that part of the back of the cap between his eye and his cheek, the fur has also been improved there as well. It looks much more fuzzy than it used to be. This is a shot of Ratchet running away from Victor Von Ion, and this is a scene that we have actually seen before. There was a particular screenshot of it in the previous gameplay trailer. Here, Clank is jumping away from a big wrist-mounted laser that Victor has, which is a weapon that we've never actually seen him use before. In the background, where the burninating flames are, you can actually pick out that this is on the Phoenix, in addition to the hexagon tiles. In Full Frontal Assault, up the steps would have been where the map screen was, and where Stuart Zergo, spoilers, would come in to make his threatening calls. Here is a shot from the movie, and you can tell that it is from the movie because of the Rainmaker logo in the bottom right hand corner, which is used to denote footage from the movie. Here you can see Quark, Ratchet and Clank shooting through a hallway on what appears to be Drek's motorized scooter. I have no idea how they got the scooter. Maybe they stole it from a a raid or something like that, and then they decided to pal around on it in the Hall of Heroes, except now they're out of control and it needs some help stopping it. Shenanigans. Now this shot is a bit of a puzzler. You can see that Ratchet is in his crappy old starting ship, and that he is in his starting outfit. He isn't in armor, so he hasn't become part of the Galactic Rangers, and yet his ship is being attacked. So yeah, on Kerwan, his ship goes down because Blargy and mercenaries bomb it. So my theory as to what the context of the shot is, and this is backed up on various GIFs that I have seen online, is that this is actually Ratchet being attacked and is how he crashes on Nivalis. We see that it is crashed and it has to be fixed by the plumber, but first they have to defeat a brain-eating zombie T-Rex, of course, everybody knows that bit. So the reason why I think they get attacked to begin with is that we know that Skid's uncle, who is also the mayor of Tobruk Crater on Nivalis, Agnog Buckwash, he is also attacked and brought down. And the implication is that it is Drek's forces, and they're after the video showing Skid with the hydro harvester schematics. So I think that this is Ratchet actually being caught up in that bombardment, and that is how his ship crashes on Nivalis. Yeah. This is a shot that is completely perplexing me. It is Ratchet in a ship with what appears to be the mag booster in effect, because he can see the warbots trailing behind him, except the ship is on fire and he's falling down at an alarming rate. This shot is confusing to me because in the GameSpot livestream, which, remember, it's a live stream so it can't be edited, did not have this footage anywhere in it, so I'm wondering what the context is. In the previous recordings, Division 10 actually proposed the very valid point that this could be an exclusive cutscene for when your ship is actually shot down, and the robots following the ship is because this happened while the mag booster was in effect and Ratchet was picking up some of the warbots to fling at the warship. This shot is of Ratchet going down a grind rail on Hovenia. Hovenia is the term that fans are using until we find out the real name of this planet, to refer to the fact that Fort Krontos on Batalia has been relocated from a tropical series of islands to a facility up in the snowy mountains, which is very reminiscent of Hoven, a planet that we have not actually seen in this game yet and is assumed to be cut because Hovenia is filling the snow planet trope. Because Ratchet is on a grind rail, this is most likely the remake of the grind rail portion from the original Batalia level. This would lead to a guy who would give you a infobot that leads to Gaspar, which funnily enough actually had a very similar grind rail cutscene as to this one. It's sort of Ratchet sliding along with the camera close up from the right hand side looking at his shoes. Very, very familiar. So if the level structure is the same, then when Ratchet gets to the end of this, he will get an infobot again that leads him to Gaspar. One of the details that I actually quite like about this is that the rings that Ratchet has to avoid actually has a big block of metal sticking up out of the grind rail, and then just to make sure that Ratchet and the player gets it, there are these two diodes with electricity arcing between them. So if you don't realize that you have to jump over these, then I think you should be playing a different game. Here is Ratchet using the jetpack on Gaspar to escape the attacks of a Telepathopus. On the bottom right hand corner you can see this very large ring with a cable connected to it. I suspect that this is actually a projector of a giant dome force field, and Ratchet had to disable it somehow, probably through try buttons. You know, those timed buttons where you have to step on all three before the timer runs out to deactivate them? Yeah. The reward inside could be anything. It could be a holo card pack, it could be a Rhino holo card, or it could be a gold bolt even. If you look at the weapon Ratchet's holding, it is the Rhino. Specifically, the model appears to be the Rhino 4, but it actually fires more like the Rhino 5 from A Crack in Time and the Rhino 7 from Into the Nexus, which is a good change because the Rhino 4, while it was able to deal death instantly, it was a bit of a change from the fact that the Rhinos were, up to that point, traditionally rocket launchers. So yeah, very cool change. Hopefully the rockets that this thing fires will auto-target, unlike in Ocarina of Time. The building in the background on just to the left of Ratchet in the distance is doesn't appear to be part of the original remake section of Gaspar that remakes the original level. There are a fair amount of these structures located around the sandbox mining section of Gaspar, but it is unknown if you'll actually be able to go into them. Here is Ratchet, Quark, and Bragg skydiving. This is part of a shot that previously perplexed me, and I guess it still does, where it was the shot of Ratchet skydiving down with Clank acting as a jetpack with thrusters coming out of his feet in these dark green moody clouds, except I couldn't identify where they were. I theorized that it might be Orxon at night or Blackwater City under different lighting conditions. The presence of the other Rangers in this shot means that this skydiving sequence is part of a team effort. So Ratchet's not going in alone on this one. This shot is of Ratchet using the Predator launcher on Hovenia to defeat some enemies. What's notable here is the fact that Ratchet is able to pull up 5 Predator missiles. When me and Division 10 played the game at PSX, we were only able to call up 3 of these missiles, so this Predator launcher has most likely been upgraded by Raritanium to increase the amount of little Predator launcher rockets that it can generate. It's very hard to tell where in the level this section is. However, after looking at this clip extensively, if you look in the distance, there's this sort of exposed area that you can walk through with 3 or so crates. There's a ramp on the far right, there's a gap on the far left, and at the end there's a facility. I think that this is the location where in the original Ratchet and Clank Battaglia, where to your right there'd be a little cave with some crates in it, and you go down below and you face blarg guys and bushes, you extend the bridge, you cross over, and another tank shows up, and then you go through the gap on the far right hand side that I pointed out earlier, and you made your way over to a gold bolt in the level. So that's where I think this is. This shot is just, I don't know, it's just plain cool. Ratchet going along what appears to be a grind rail, except it can twist and turn in any direction, so it's combining with the gravity boots that are already installed in his proto-suit. This was previously seen actually with Tools of Destruction at the end of the Kirchu City boss, where the grind rail would corkscrew so that Ratchet would land on it upside down and start his direct battle with the Kirchu Guardian upside down. This shot I've included because you get another really good look at the mech that Nefarious uses, and while it does look a lot like his robotic form, as I've pointed out last time, it does have a very distinct resemblance to the big black mech with a red dome that Drek used to fight Giant Clank and Ratchet himself at the end of Ratchet and Clank 1. That kind of suggests, given the fact that the game has been so faithful to the original game, that this boss is actually at the end of the game. So does that mean Nefarious is the final boss? Who knows? We'll have to play the game to find out, of course. Unless, well, this is outside the stretch of 2 weeks or so before the game comes out. In which case, hi, from the future. I mean, from the past. Hi, futureman, from the past. This particular snapshot I took because in this shot you can actually see that as Clank is trying to warn Ratchet of the mysterious, completely unidentifiable person behind him, that he actually wiggles his feet a bit. It's very cute, and it's actually one of the few ways, short of popping his arms out, that Clank can actually express himself in the backpack form. Why Ratchet is looking so fearful that Quark is behind him is unknown, but this trailer heavily suggests that Quark turns to the side of Drek and Nefarious, which would mean that his character arc in the movie and the game is very reflective of his evil roots that was in the original game. And here is Ratchet flipping around in this battle, and you can see at the very top in the middle you can see Captain Quark. So Captain Quark is also a boss character, probably after his supposed turn to the bad guys. Now if you look on the floor and see what Ratchet is fighting directly, there are these Agents of Doom like robots running around trying to attack him. I actually recognize these guys immediately because of the fact that they have the 3 antennas sticking out of their heads. They look identical to the giant Agent of Doom-like robots that Drake uses in his final boss fight at the final stage. So again, this is another reference to the final boss battle, so that implies, if we're going under the assumption that the new game is going to be that faithful to the original game, that Quark is also one of the final boss characters, which would be very interesting. This is also another shot where you can see that Ratchet is holding the Rhino. So yeah, yet another appearance of this super powerful weapon that we've actually seen Nefarious wielding in a clip for the movie before in one of the TV spots. Now this shot is of Quark looking rather sorry and remorseful. And if you look at the swirly green beam in the background, this swirly beam has previously been seen in shots of that sheep transformation, courtesy of Dr. Nefarious, as well as Victor Von Ion's reveal in the original movie trailer. That is this sort of core beam of the planetizer. So if I were to put a context on this shot, this is probably Quark realizing that he done goofed. Now this is a shot of Dr. Nefarious looking very, very smug. And the main reason why I included this is because you get a really good look at the detailing of his costume. You can see the stitching on his shoulder pad, as well as the material textures that I used for the underside arm of part of his uniform, basically. This shot near the end is of Ratchet blasting stuff on Pokitaru. And this is technically not very new. We know that Ratchet does this dogfighting, but I thought it was cool that he's flying over the starting area. You can see the Gadgetron vendor there. And if you look at the bottom of the steps, sort of halfway through the way down to the shore, you can actually see that Ratchet's Class G Star Jumper is actually casting a shadow on the walkway, which I thought was cool. Now in this shot, you can see to the bottom left of the Star Jumper that there is a large red gate at the water's edge. I pointed this out in a previous in-depth, but this is a much better view of this red archway. I swum here specifically while I was at PSX because I noticed this in the trailer just before I flew out to San Francisco to attend the event with Division 10. And behind, there appeared to be either a bolt crank or a teleporter pad, which I thought was very interesting. This is not an entrance, this is an exit. As for the actual entrance, I would assume that is the teleporter pad at the start of the level that we can't actually enter unless we have the jetpack, or the thruster pack as it was called at the time, that alluded to the thruster pack being in the game. But I'm beginning to suspect that that might actually be an old term that Insomniac were using to refer to the jetpack, but they decided to go with jetpack rather than thruster pack just to, minimize confusion as to what the gadget was and what it could do. Now, keep an eye on the topmost Blarg saucer, sort of in the center of the tower with the red door. Because it is tracking Ratchet's Star Jumper, and Ratchet flies really close to the tower, it hits the tower and explodes. Oops. And here is the final shot of the end of the trailer. Installs April 12th for America. In most other regions, it's April 20th. And the background of this particular shot is the same one that was used for the end of the first Ratchet & Clank movie trailer. The first sort of expanded one that was more than 30 seconds. What's interesting here is that obviously the Ratchet & Clank logo has been removed, but the door's still open, and this element slides away to reveal a new one, except these elements with the game case and the release date aren't actually physically in that space. They're 2D elements overlaid over the top, which is, interesting, but the effect mostly works when you're doing it in motion, and the sleight of hand of the shot hasn't been revealed by some nerd in New Zealand pointing it out to you in a really long video. So yeah, that concludes my in-depth of the story trailer. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did enjoy it, then I highly encourage you to listen to the previous in-depths. I spent a lot of work on these, And if you want to catch even more of me and Division 10, you can look over some of our other channels as well. You're probably watching this on YouTube, so you already know that the channel name is the Lunar Observer Podcast. But we also have a Tumblr, lunarobserver.tumblr.com, and we also have a Twitter. It's at lunar_observer. I hope you enjoyed watching this episode, and I'll see you next time.